delighted that we're going to do a Shavuot special.
Shavuot special. For me, there's so many amazing parts of Tanakh. And the fact that we read on Shavuot the story of Ruth, it's a very, very, very special story. Very emotional story. Just as a very, very brief background, there's a very prominent, very yichastic, I don't know how you'd say that in English. Renowned or with heritage, like a very, very renowned family with sort of what the equivalent would be of old money, that type of thing, but
Jewish,
with heritage,
right?
Family that
in Israel, that's the key.
A Jewish family who
what was his name?
𝘠𝗪𝗓, I think, and instead of actually helping during a famine, he takes his family and he moves outside of Israel. And while there, his two children marry two local princesses, which fits their social standing, but they're not supposed to be marrying somebody who isn't Jewish.
They went to Moab, next door.
That's right. And then you've got this situation where, unfortunately, these two sons die. And the husband, the father of these two sons, they all pass away. And Naomi, who is the wife, is left with her two daughters-in-law. And she is broken. And she wants to return to Israel. She sees that this has been a devastating move for the family. And she tries strongly to discourage her daughters-in-law from coming with. No, you're Moabite women. You stay with your family. There's no need. You don't need to come with me. And one of them listens to her. She goes back, and we learn from the Medrash the type of society she actually comes from, the immorality that she did that night, from which we are told the giant Goliath is descended from a union that she has that night.
Wait, the immorality that one of the daughters,
Orpah,
not Ruth,
not
came
Ruth.
with Orpah, right.
Okay, but it shows you the immorality of that world, and what was normal for people of that world. And Ruth, she rejects that. And she says the most beautiful thing, Amech Ami, your people are my people. And your God is my God. And I will follow you to the ends of the world. You are my mother-in-law. Your religion is my religion. Your people are my people. And this is somebody who's a foreigner without any form of heritage within the Jewish world. And she's taking this step into the unknown. It just blows my mind that there can be somebody like that who can do that.
How do you relate to that in terms of she had no need to do any of this, number one. She had no ethical background to get a perspective on admiring this people, yet she did it. Something in me sort of indicates that Hashem was at play here. Again, we're getting into choppy waters because free will, which we're huge fans of as Jews.
That's right.
We're saying that was a big free will decision, just like her sister. Was it her sister? I don't know if it was her sister.
Yeah, it may well have been.
Okay, well, either sister or or one of the members of that Moabite clan, she didn't make that decision. That's the point.
That's right. And that was normal.
And that was
normalized.
Right.
What we have to say, yes, of course, we have to say there was free will. But nobody's going to force somebody to be Jewish. That's completely against our religion. And for it to be from Hashem as well, that wouldn't be fair.
Right.
The concept is that she, despite growing up in such a base
depravity
place, she was able to see in her mother-in-law some greatness. And she realized that this greatness must come from the concept of a monotheistic religion, where it's not about taking, it's about giving. With the pagan gods, they're fighting against each other. Each one's trying to take more from the other. Whereas one God who has everything and rules everything doesn't need to take. He just gives. And we're supposed to emulate that. She probably saw that, felt that in some way, and realized that if this is the representative of the religion, I want to be part of this.
Weirdly, We've identified this family as fleers. They fled.
Yeah.
So this isn't a paradigm Jewish family. They basically bottled it.
They are criticized by the sages for not stand. They had money. They were wealthy, upstanding people.
They left.
And they did not stay to support.
As we say in London, they scarpered. They scarpered. And the husbands died. Nothing about this, from an observational point of view, would make you think that Ruth saw wonders in these people.
But maybe
the mother.
Naomi,
yeah.
The mother wasn't necessarily the one who made the decision to leave. And she was the one who represented the beauty of our religion. So
what do you take from all of this?
So for me, it is the story of Ruth. She had a child eventually, and that child had a child, and eventually came from her King David. So we've got the most famous, the holiest, righteous king of the Jewish people, descended from this person who came from nothing, who probably looked different, probably had a different skin color. It mustn't have been easy. But she came, and despite being viewed by some people as being outcast, some people even felt that she wasn't even allowed to marry, even after conversion, was not allowed to marry into the Jewish people, although they were wrong. There must have been a lot of back talk going on, all the different one, the alien.
The outsider, yeah.
And despite all of that, she was so holy that she was able to have somebody of such greatness to have the crown of kingship descended from her, and all the kings of Judah all descended from her. King Solomon and all the others, all King Hezekiah.
It's huge.
All of these people descended from her. This was somebody who from outside who became everything. For me, that is a tremendous message. We are big on yichus. We are strong on the concept of heritage, and I learned from my father and he learned from his father, and we pass down the generation.
Grand lineage.
That is a great translation of yichus. We do stress that. It is important, but that doesn't mean that somebody can't come in and become truly big and great. I personally know many, many, many converts who I don't think our people and our religion would be the same without them. I think that we have gained so much from them, and they are big, important people. When I say important, I don't mean showy. I mean they have contributed so much. But there is a fascinating aspect to this whole story, and that is that the person, King David, is descended from her great-grandson. But Mashiach, who will eventually come and redeem us, he's also a king. Mashiach means the anointed one of Hashem, meaning he's going to be a king. He's going to be a direct descendant of King David and a direct descendant of Ruth. And there's this amazing book. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a book called 𝗦𝗵𝗃𝗃.
Have I just?
And
mate, don't get me started. Want to go for another hour? What a book on every level. Wow.
So one of the central premises in this book by Rav Teichtal, who himself grew up and lived in a community of anti-Zionists for us, and
anti,
whichever way you prefer.
We love everyone.
One of the central premises of he grew up in a very anti-Zionist world, and at a certain point during the Holocaust, he was murdered in the Holocaust. At a certain point in the Holocaust, he came to an understanding that returning to the land of Israel is part of what we're supposed to be doing. And even though it may look as if one of the biggest arguments within the religious community against the sort of the burgeoning Zionistic concept, is that it was really being pushed by people who were not just not religious. Many of them were anti-religious. They wanted to create a nation like all the other nations of the world. Many of them, not all, but many of them. And because of that, there was a lot of rejection among religious communities to this concept. It
was fear. There was fear of that's the end for Judaism.
But I think more than just fear, there can't be a holiness in something that is being pushed by somebody with an anti-religious agenda. It can't be truth to that. That was what some of them felt.
That's why you needed him.
Of course.
Basically.
So what Rav Teichel did was he demonstrated that the pathway to Mashiach is always hidden behind something that looks on the surface to be not quite right or not quite holy. Without going into details, we see this in the story of Yehuda and Tamar, from which the whole of Yehuda and then the line of Mashiach comes, something that on the surface looks very, very not right.
Same line,
yeah. And then we see it here. Many people thought that Ruth is not even allowed to marry into the Jewish people, even after conversion. They were mistaken. But there was something that needed to be shown here. Why is this? He explains in the book that whenever you have something of tremendous holiness, the Yetzer Hara or the Satan tries to destroy it. And therefore, in order to protect it, it's hidden behind something that looks wrong, but isn't really. And then Satan doesn't see it because it's sort of hidden. Oh, well, this is bad already. I don't need to worry about it. I don't need to destroy it, which is a fascinating concept. And exactly what happens on a spiritual level, I can't tell you.
Well, no one can. But the way that Hashem set it up.
Such a concept is that we see a similar thing. The day before Rosh Hashanah, we don't blow the shofar.
That's right.
Right? We don't blow the shofar because we want to keep Satan away, as if he doesn't know. He's not anything that's truly holy. We want to sort of, let's cover it up. Oh no, nothing's going on here.
It seems childish. Let's just look at it. It seems weird. It's like, come on. He knows everything about everyone about all the time. He knows how to get you, to push you to the. But if we just hide the shofar, and if we just make a somewhat illicit relationship, that's how we're going to get Mashiach through. Now, it doesn't bother me because I don't know how Hashem has made this whole everything. I guess that's part of emunah. There's a lot to say on that in of itself. It's where I think a lot of people struggle because they've got to make the empirical connection, whereas faith is all about not empirical connections. You're supposed to go beyond and just be like, well, there is Hashem beyond, and I don't know how he does everything. Some people don't. A lot of people don't like that. I think this is one of those instances because it sounds.
Because you could say that, well, Satan can go and read 𝘦𝗵𝘃𝗂𝗏. He can read the book.
Absolutely.
And he can then say, okay, that's how they're doing it. But there seems to be some sort of thing, some sort of mechanism.
No, hang on. They did it last year.
Oh, you're talking about the shofar?
Yeah,
he knows by now.
They did it last year.
They got me for a while.
They got me. Yeah, they got me. I'll know next year what to do, but it doesn't happen. Anyway,
I definitely hear that.
But I'm all right with it.
But I think clearly there is a spiritual mechanism,
yes,
which means the following. I think it's this. I don't have the depth of understanding, but I think it's something like this: when something is perfection, it's waiting to be knocked down. It's almost like it's asking to be knocked down.
It's the way of the world, actually.
It is the way of the world, and therefore the spiritual world works as a parallel to the physical world. So what we see here, when somebody's strutting around looking perfect, all of the newspapers and the magazines are just waiting to catch them.
That's right.
Right? They're somebody becomes famous, everybody wants to drag them down.
I was going to say exactly that. I look at someone like David Beckham, completely disconnected, successful guy, good-looking guy. They're all on him. They're trying to destroy him, and they nearly did. But he showed certain fortitude. I know it's a mad example to bring in now, but only because he went through something and he came through it with his head held high. Mm-hmm. I don't know the guy, but there's something to respect about that. They tried to muddy his entire life, his wife, kids, the lot. On a level, it shows some real fortitude.
Yeah. And presumably the spiritual world is created as a parallel to that.
Right.
And therefore, when something looks perfect, it's just waiting to be knocked down. Whereas if we can sort of make it look a little bit shady, so therefore Hashem creates the seed of Mashiach coming through what appears to be shady situations.
Right.
And for me, when I read this verse in the book, it completely changed my worldview, because it's not like I can see that, unfortunately, if anybody who's honest will say that this country has amazing aspects to it, and there's also some really, really painful things. And we have a really painful history, especially when it comes to religion in this country.
100%.
There are people who, the story of Yemenite children,
that's right,
being taken from their religious homes when they came here, and then handed over to secular Jews because they were trying. Specific, and this is not me making it up. There are clear documentation of this, and
it should bother a person. It bothers me.
It should bother us. It should bother us when we see a country where there could be non-kosher restaurants, and when driving on Shabbos is normal. It should bother us because we want a religious country. We want a country where people are connected to Hashem. And again, without any judgment of any individual, that's not what this is about. Right. We're not judging anybody. I'm not judging anybody at all. But as Hashem's country, we want it to be glowing with spirituality. That's really what we want.
Well, Jewish in the proper sense.
Yeah. Yeah, Jewish in the proper sense. So anybody who's honest can walk around here and think, okay, yeah, Hashem's given us a present, but is this really the way it should be? But with this insight, yeah, actually, perhaps it should be this way. Perhaps the spirituality needs to be covered to a certain extent, so that it's not constantly attacked. That doesn't mean we shouldn't start building it up and trying to connect. And since last year, Simchas Torah, I think we've seen a tremendous increase in spirituality in this country. When hostages can come back and say that they made kiddush on water, or they were careful to try and keep Shabbat in certain ways, or they did some Jewish learning. They came across a Chabad pamphlet of Torah learning, and it was the only Hebrew they had, so they spent their time learning that. When you have people who are facing, tremendous suffering, and they connect to Hashem in that way, it builds everybody. You can see people are connecting to Hashem, and hopefully we will see that getting more and more, and we will see Mashiach actually come.
I think with these things as well, it's also context of how, for instance, with Medina, from what basis did it start? It wasn't like everyone went away from Judaism in 1947. It had already been going for 200 years, 150, 200 years with the Enlightenment and all this. The Jewish people had already moved away in droves. Something was defective. I was having a conversation with someone about this the other day. Something was clearly defective in the Jewish people in the love of Torah in the 1700s, that when the gate was open, thousands sprinted out. It didn't start in 1948. The state of Israel is, in my opinion, and my understanding, and what I've accepted and what sits comfortably with me, I guess, is that it just emphasizes the process that the Jewish people are on. It's not an overnight thing. It speaks to what you're saying, meaning prior choices were given this free will, as we're talking about free will, and it created certain realities. And from those realities, for whatever reason, Hashem gave us a state. The state now is an opportunity. The gift is the opportunity, but don't be fooled to think that we could have just gone in on day one and be like, right, everyone to Shachrit, Mincha, and Mariv. We're back now. No, it's not reality. Reality is things run along in a certain pattern. And I think that what we're seeing now, 70 odd years later, 77 years later, it's just part of the process. And here's the thing. We know the ending. The ending is Ruth. The ending is
Mashiach.
The ending is Mashiach.
It's her line.
So it all makes sense. That it's like you said, it's called covered, and that which is hidden is sacred. I remember that phrase. It's amazing.
Oh, yes,
that which is hidden is sacred. When you've got good things in your life, don't be like Bobby Big Shot, mouthing it off everywhere. Just keep it quiet. There's a kedusha in quietness. Mm-hmm. Pirkei Avot says the silence is great for the body. Why? Silence, it's calming. It's quiet. It's not out there for anyone to muddy or meddle with or whatever. Right. Just keep it quiet. And so and in a way, it feels like that's kind of what's happening with Mashiach. And that's why ultimately I'm okay with the Medina, and why I commit to the way I am is because I accept the fact that this must be a process. I don't know what this process is. None of us know. None of us on October the 6th. You know, I'm standing on October the 6th at Nate's on one of the roofs looking over the Kotel with my son, with one of my good close friends leading a minyan, a beautiful singing musical. I had my drums and just, it was an amazing minyan, October the 6th. Wow, what a great Hoshana Rabbah. Go home, get ready for Shabbat, Simchat Torah. Boom. No one saw that coming. You know, from 1 minute to the next, we don't know what's coming. And I guess that's part of the emunah. Stay with it and hang in there. And maybe that's what Ruth is all about.
Very much so. It's true. We've got no idea. I think we've actually mentioned before what Rav Kook says in his Oras HaTshuvah, where he talks about the fact that there's different levels of returning to spirituality. Right. And we have a deep spark inside our soul, and it shows in different ways. And one of the things that he was very, very strong about is even those who on the outside look as if they are anti-religious, right? And look as if they're trying to do this to make this country like a nation, like all the other nations in the world. Even they, without them even knowing it, are being driven by this deep hidden spirituality, this deep spark of wanting to return to the land, because that itself is a return. It's a teshuvah. All of that is part of this hiddenness. It's all of that is part of this concept that we're going to get there. There's a drive. There's a spirituality. I'm not into Eurovision and music like that, right? But I heard that in the middle of the song that Yuval, is that her name? Yuval sang, I was told that she put a pasuk in there. There's a pasuk there, like 𝘵 𝗔𝗯𝗃𝗂𝘀𝗲 that lots of waters will not wash out the love. Right? This is it's a pasuk in Tanakh, right?
Why? You're like, why? If something wasn't coming through,
exactly. This is you know, this is I don't believe she's a religious person. I believe that in fact, as far as I know, the Eurovision Song Contest takes place during Shabbat. I believe it's still Shabbat in Europe. Right. And yet look at that neshama like shining through. This is somebody who's representing the Jewish people, right? If we spend our time saying, oh, she doesn't do this and he doesn't do that, we're never going to get anywhere. We have to start appreciating the hidden spark of spirituality that is shining in our country and in our people, and will hopefully very, very soon burst forth in the progeny of Ruth as it comes forward in her final descendant, the anointed Mashiach. Speedily in our days.